What's up, everyone? Today I will be covering the terminology of an ellipse and what you can do with ellipses. So let's get started. For materials today, I have two ellipse guides. I have the Pickett Master Ellipse Maker and the Timely Isometric Ellipse guide. This one is pretty expensive. I think it was around like 17 or 18 bucks. I feel like a lot of people use these. This one went for I think $7, so definitely recommend you getting the green Timely Isometric guides. So let's get started with some simple ellipses. So here you have an ellipse, and the two intersecting lines or axes are the major and minor. The one that you'll want to pay attention to the most is the minor. The reason for this is that the minor will always point in the direction of the vantage point. One other way to look at this is the minor axis is like the axle of a wheel. So this would be the axle, here's the wheel, and if it were to pivot, it would just go along that arch. Now let's place an ellipse in perspective. Once you have the surface drawn, let's first make our minor axis. So I'm going to create some lines to find where I want this, the center of my ellipse to be. And then here will be the minor axis. And again, this line should be directed towards that vantage point. So referencing these lines of this box back to the vantage point. This line will also indicate the narrowest part of the ellipse. Moving on to offsetting ellipses. A wheel like the image here is a good example of offsetting ellipses. So here let's use an ellipse tool. So again, let's do the minor axis first and then drop in the ellipse. Okay, so now that we have an ellipse on a plane, we can start to add depth by following this minor axis by putting a point up here and leading it back parallel with that minor axis. Now you can add points wherever on this line. I'm going to put two there and there. Let's make one stick out of the ellipse as well. Let's do it right there. Okay, let's add some various sized ellipses. Let's do this guy. And then incrementally make these ellipse is smaller and smaller. And let's add another one back inside. Now, to complete this, you'll want to connect these by taking these points that you've made and leading them back to their intersecting lines. Let's create the exterior of this as well. Now I'm just going to add shading to help show what is happening with these ellipses. And lastly, moving on to rotating and hinged doors and flaps. Let's draw a box first so that we can create these doors. First, find a side you want to apply your hinge. So let's start with this corner here as the hinge. Next, decide on what size you want your flap or door to be. So depending on how large your ellipse is how wide your door or flap is going to be. So let's first find a point, let's make it right in the middle. And then we're going to draw our ellipse on this plane. So this will be the radius of your ellipse. So if you don't remember what a radius is, it is half of the circle's circumference. All right, so our ellipse is going to be pretty narrow. Let's see if we can use our guide. Might be too small. These might be too, yeah. These are too big of a degree. So just gonna have to wing it with our hand. Next, you can find anywhere on this outermost part of your ellipse and put a point wherever you want to. I'm going to place mine right about here. Actually, I'm going to put it right here. So from that point, bring it back to this center point of the ellipse, and then you want to make lines that are parallel with the hinge of your door. and then lines that are parallel with the radius or the top of your door. And then from there we can make the opening of the door. All right, let's make another one, a door that opens up here on this surface. So if this is the hinge, we're going to make our ellipse on this surface. So there's our ellipse, radius, to make the point out here. There's the inside of the box. All right, let's make one more down here. So I'm going to find our hinge, which is back here. Let's bring our ellipse back in. Let's do a larger one. Gotta fix that. There you have the basic understanding of how to use ellipses. Please let me know if this was helpful at all in the comments below, and if you're interested in more tutorials, I have a link to my Patreon down below. Thank you. Bye-bye now.